Well, human drugs are leaching into rivers. They're causing major havoc for fish. A troubling study of fish in Washington state's Puget Sound. It's an area that contains roughly 106 publicly owned wastewater treatment plants. Now, these plants, they discharge into the local waters. The ecologists studying this, they say it's creating a nightmare for the ecosystem and for these fish. Now, get this, the fish that were drug tested, ecologists found everything from heroin to Prozac in these live fish. Jim Metter, this environmental toxicologist, he had this to say about the troubling findings. The concentrations in effluent were higher than expected. We analyzed samples for 150 compounds, and we found 61% of them detected in effluent, so we know these are going into the estuaries. Now, Joe, this is troubling. I mean, I don't want to eat a fish with heroin, cocaine, Prozac, OxyContin, Tagamet, Zoloft, bug spray, you name it. These fish are picking it up. What do you make of this story? Could we cook it out? I mean, is there a bigger issue going on than us eating it?
Well, certainly I wouldn't want to be eating any raw salmon and sushi from a place like that. But they were talking about, the numbers I was reading was 92 different contaminants, birth control pills, anti-anxiety medication, all sorts. We know that this is largely responsible because of the responsibility of it lies with the sewer plants, but there are in total 110 public sewer plants in that region. So we know that this is only part of a much bigger problem. And while you might say, well, this particular area is a link to the sewage plant, the reports also show that the Nisqually estuary, which is a clean water outflow area just nearby that is not linked to a sewage plant, and it's one of the largest wildlife reserves, also has a number of chemicals that they found in their fish there. So definitely very worrying.
Right. Well, the amount of drugs and chemicals coming out of these plants around Puget, it's 97,000 pounds a year, this study found. So all of that's being dumped into the waterways there. It's understandable that these fish would have these issues. Coming from Washington, D.C. myself, we often heard about the Potomac and the aspects of what's going on with their fish. There was a mutation happening with wild fish in the Potomac. People were urged not to fish there or try to catch them and eat them because of the aspects of drug absorption, primarily birth control pills, reproductive issues. These fish were actually being born with both sex organs because the water was so polluted. And when you hear about cases like this of drug and chemical contaminants, it makes you wonder what the human aspect is going to be, but also the environment. Joe, what are we doing? We're doing this to our own environment. It's troubling.
Yeah, there have to be measures that are taken, standards that are improved in this instance. And also bear in mind that one of the most worrying things out there at the moment is the chemical processing that goes on in making plastics releases a chemical called thiolates. And this has been found to cause changes in hormones. We've seen young children having various hormone problems.
Glands will grow with phthalates, and it's a compound that makes plastic soft. And the concept of male breast hormone, that increase, and that they actually develop breasts because of this hormone. That's a troubling aspect of this. But the drugs being detected in the study, they have a potential effect, of course, on fish growth, but it remains to be seen what kind of effect they have on the reproductive systems of humans consuming the fish, living in the environment, as well as the immune issues going on. And keep in mind, we live in this highly chemical environment, highly chemicalized environment, and the fact that this is happening in our ecosystem, it generates a larger problem for all of us.